Hey, Husker fans, we're back on YouTube here on the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and I'm back with Danny Gillette, and it's Nebraska game day. We have a long wait. We got a night game, Camp Randall, the good old 7:30 Eastern kick time, 6:30 Central time, of course 5:30 Montana time where I'm from. But it's going to be a late night, but a lot at stake. We got the bowl game. We got Matt Rule, Luke Fickle. So it's going to be an exciting night. How you feeling this morning, Danny?
I'm feeling a little nervous. It's almost like I'm playing the game, right? I'm feeling a little nervous. It's time for Chubba Purdy to show what he can do, and I think yes, he's our starting quarterback because of injuries, but quite honestly, a lot of us have wanted to see what he could do this season, and you know, starting Chubba Purdy also to me basically means that even Matt Rule has kind of given up on the Jeff Sims experiment. So we'll see. we'll see what happens. But I feel confident with Purdy starting this game. To be completely honest with you.
I mean, yeah, as long as he can stay healthy. So, anyways, before we get into the Chubba Purdy in this game, if you guys haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. It makes sure that you don't miss any of our content, any of our streams or podcasts. We also have some new ways that you can support the channel if you're interested in that. We have super chats and some other things like that. So we're trying to grow this channel, but any way that you can support it, we would greatly appreciate it. But anyways, if you missed the news, it's Sean Callahan reported it for Husker Online yesterday morning that Chubba Purdy was expected to start, and something that I kind of thought was interesting, and what he had reported basically is that Jeff Sims this week was struggling in practice, that the turnovers, that was one thing that he had talked about, that the turnovers kind of continued in practice this week. So I think, yeah, it's just, I don't see how you can put Jeff Sims out there, although he is the only healthy quarterback. So, I mean, Chubba, has a groin injury that basically, they've kind of reported that it's going to require surgery at some point. So I don't know what that looks like. Hopefully he can get through this game. And I really feel that if Nebraska can just, I know this is like a huge, ginormous if, but if they can just take care of the damn ball, I just think they're going to win this game because, Braylon Allen, if he plays, I don't think he's going to be 100%. I don't think they have any receivers. I don't trust Wisconsin's quarterback. So, I mean, I think if you look at the best, if I'm looking at these two teams, the best part of either offense, I think, is Nebraska's running game. And I think Nebraska has the better defense. And so as long as they don't give the football away, I feel like they have a pretty good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, and I kind of feel bad for Chubba Purdy in a way, still battling with that groin injury, and yet he gets a chance to start. So I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see Sims in the game in some shape or form if, if Chuba, if the groin injury, causes him to have a difficult start to the game or whatever. But, I think it's pretty telling that Matt Rule kind of recognized that Jeff Sims was having the same turnover issues in practice as in game. So, we'll see what happens here, but I'm curious to see what Purdy can bring to the table.
I am too, and I guess my biggest thing for this game is just be patient. Be patient as I'm talking, and I'm talking to the coaching staff and the play callers. It's all right to punt the football in this game. And I know Brian Bushini's had a couple, but for the most part, he punts the ball pretty well,
Yeah.
and so just do not put your defense in a bad situation. You have really this defense. I mean, it's not. I know it's been talked about, but they're like 18th in the country in scoring defense. I mean, this is a really good defense. So just trust it. Lean on the running game. Please give Edmund Johnson 20 carries today. I don't care what happens. I don't care what the score is. Make sure that guy gets the ball handed to him 20 times today. Because when he touches the football, good things tend to happen. I mean, he's averaged better than 4 yards a carry in 4 consecutive Big Ten games. So I mean, it was they gave it to him more last week, but I want to see it even more. I want to see him get 20 touches, and I mean, who cares if you have to punt the football? This Wisconsin offense is not. I mean, unless they do something today that they haven't in a long time. I mean, in the last 6 games, I think they've scored over 14 points one time. So I just don't see Wisconsin driving the ball up and down the field on the black shirts today. I think it's a there's one path for Nebraska to lose this game, and that's handing the football to Wisconsin, which that's what they've done every game, though. So they have to figure out a way to not do that today.
Yeah, and I think it's also going to be important for the receivers to really kind of, make their mark as well. The young receivers, guys, like Coleman and Lloyd, because I think at this point they've burned their red shirts, if I'm not mistaken. And then I was reading something the other day, and it talked about Demetrius Bell, being not an option, but a receiver who's making progress in practice, and Garrett McGuire was very impressed with Bell as well. So that just speaks to the young receiving talent coming up in the program. And let's face it, guys like Lloyd and Coleman have made impacts already, and it's only I don't mind burning their red shirts at all because we need playmakers on the field, and so far they've shown that when given the opportunity and when they get the ball thrown at them, that they can be reliable.
Absolutely. And good morning to Steve from Texas. Thanks for joining us again. I see Mitch in the chat. Mitch says, if Nebraska only turns the ball over 2 times, they're going to win the game. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I do kind of think that that's, the problem is that Nebraska over the last 3 games has been averaging 4 turnovers a game. They had 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter last week. So, yeah, I mean, if I could go into this game right now and say Nebraska's only going to have 2 turnovers, then I think they probably would win. I actually changed my prediction from earlier in the week, and when I did my predictions at HuskerBigRed.com, I did predict Nebraska to win just because the more I think about it, I mean, last week Wisconsin I think ran for like 95 yards against Northwestern. They lost 24-10, and the only reason they had 10 is because they scored with like 6 seconds left, a touchdown. So they were down 24-3 in the last minute at home to Northwestern without Braylon Allen. Ches Malushi is out. Tanner Mordecai's thrown 3 touchdown passes all season. So, in this passing, I mean, Wisconsin usually has some decent receivers, but they really don't have a lot of weapons. So, I mean, I really, I say all this and Tanner Mordecai will come out and throw for like 300 yards, and
We always have trouble with quarterbacks who aren't
yeah.
supposed to be good.
And Wisconsin always finds some third. They're like the Denver Broncos of the Mike Shanahan era. They'll find some guy who was like a former walk-on that'll rush for 1,000, and so I hope that doesn't happen. Like, I don't want to get, too ahead of my skis here, but I do think if Nebraska, so that's why I'm saying be patient, freaking hand the ball off, throw the football as little as possible, and just trust your defense, your offensive line, and your running game. Those are the 3, things that, I mean, I feel like that you had the advantage with in this game. So, because Wisconsin, they're ranked like 9th in the Big Ten in rushing defense. So this isn't a typical Wisconsin defense either. And as Mitch points out here also in the chat, I mean, there has been a lot of talk of, infighting and, Luke Fickell's lost the team. And I mean, because they were ranked like pretty high at one point. So things have kind of taken a turn in Madison.
And yes, Purdy is going to start this game. This will be his first start of the season, I believe. And so
Yep.
we're going to see what he is able to do. One of the things that really stuck out to me when he came in last week was his quick release. I really liked his throwing motions when he threw the football. Maybe that was just because the other 2 quarterbacks were horrible and I was just desperate for some good quarterback releases and quarterback play. But I really thought that Purdy did a good job of throwing the football. People want to put the interception on him. I don't necessarily think that was entirely his fault. Overall, I was pleased with what he was able to do. I believe he had a 20-yard pass down the middle as well. I forget to who, but he looked like he was able to move the offense well. So that gives me hope for tonight. And quite honestly, as this season is concerned, Wisconsin doesn't have a lot of film on him either. So maybe that will work to our advantage in some way.
One thing is like, Danny, what would you guess that the over-under would be? Not looking at anything, but just knowing these 2 offenses, what's your guess on the over-under?
For points?
Yeah.
Under 30?
Yeah, it's the Vegas line is 37. So, I mean,
that Vegas line is generous. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know how, like 2017, I don't see how that's going to happen.
This says 17. Mitch said 17,
20,
and I
27-10.
I think
I
Mitch
mean,
is kind of more on point than Vegas here because I don't I'm not seeing a gauntlet of offense in this one.
no, so I mean that's like last week I was almost I mean I predicted the score right. I had 13-10 Nebraska and it was 13-10 Maryland, but I feel like it's going to be a similar game because Nebraska just that's who we are right now. I mean, we can't like I mean we've scored 20 points in one Big 10 or no, maybe two or okay, maybe I should double check my math. Two Big 10 games, right? We've scored 20 points against
Illinois,
Illinois and Purdue, right? Because
yeah, and then
Northwestern we beat like 17-9 or something.
yeah, that's right, we did.
So and then Minnesota we got 13, 10 against Michigan, 17 against Michigan State.
What about Illinois? So yeah, we said
Yeah,
Illinois, right?
Illinois we got. Yeah, so
Okay, so
um yeah, right. Yeah, I know, Mitch. This is exactly watch him score 30. That would be the like
I would
so
love that.
Nebraska. No, I'm
I would
talking
love
he
that.
I
Oh,
think he
them?
means Wisconsin. Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay, yeah, I would hate that. I thought you meant us. I'm like, I would love that.
it'd be cool if
But
Nebraska scored 35 points, though. That would be cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. Chubba, this is a big opportunity for him, though, because I mean, if you look at Jeff Sims is not going to be the starter next year. He's not going to. I don't think he's going to be on this team next year. I mean, maybe if he just can't go anywhere else. But yeah, I just don't. Um, and Heinrich, I think Heinrich could have like some sort of role, but I really don't think that he's going to be the starting quarter. Like I don't see him leaving in the portal, and I do think that he could have a role just like as a power runner, and he could do a few different things. But Chubba is like the only guy that maybe like say he comes out and plays like
yeah,
really well, that could maybe put himself in the conversation to be a starter next year. It's just for the guy just can't get healthy. I mean, last
yeah,
year when he had to play, he wasn't healthy, and then he looked good this fall, and it still hasn't gotten he looked good in the fall and then got hurt again. Um, yeah, right. I know that's what I'm saying. I mean, I have no idea on his path to graduating. I mean, so yeah, he would obviously have to do, some work to try to graduate, and then he would have to do that. So, I mean, or unless he wants to sit out a year, I mean, he could do that too. But the other thing I'm not sure, with all the transfer portal rules, not saying that Jeff Sims would need to do that, but in the old days, you used to be able to transfer down from like the FBS to the FCS, and there was no year of sitting out. I wonder if that's still the case. Like if you transfer in you know what I mean? That's what I honestly don't know. It just I'd be interested if he could like go down to an FCS team and transfer. Not saying that he would want to do that, but he really needs to go somewhere where he can rebuild some confidence because he just right now doesn't look like he looks like a guy playing quarterback with the yips. Honestly, he's got all the talent in the world, but he can't read defenses, and it's just like when you're trying to play quarterback. Like I don't know if I've never played quarterback, but I have played quarterback on Madden, and I have had times where I've thrown like a lot of interceptions, and so I know what I mean from that perspective. I do know like you get to this point where you're just like trying not to throw them, and then you just throw more of them. So it's like you can't play quarterback thinking too much. You just have to be able to read and throw, and Jeff Sims just can't do that right now, and it's tough. I feel bad for him, so I hope he can get it sorted out. But Chubba is the one guy that can throw, and he's made good decisions. And I just hope to God he's got like 10% of the talent of the ability that his brother has to produce. And then if we get that, we'll be all right.
I think honestly he has the talent. Like I think what we saw last year was a combination of being the sacrificial lamb for Mark Whipple and also not being healthy. And
Yeah, because he was like shot. He was not throwing the ball like he's throwing it this year, and he's got a hurt groin, so he's still not 100%. But he's like throwing the ball so much, like he was like
he
shot
is.
putting that thing. Just I feel bad for him.
Yeah, and it was rough last year, but I noticed in the Maryland game he was throwing a nice tight spiral. They weren't necessarily airy passes, as I call them, just huck them up in the air and hope for the best. They were, good spirals. They weren't. They got to their targets, and so he does look a lot better right now. And I think Mitch is right. Purdy could cement his role for spring ball, today, and he could also, you know, over these next two games, let's just say, cement his role for possibly being the starting quarterback for next year. I mean, who knows? I mean, yes, we have Danny Kaelin coming in, but he won't be ready. I mean, do you think if Chubba plays well these last 2 games that there would be as big a need for a transfer portal quarterback?
I mean, I don't know. I do think for depth, but yeah, maybe not. Maybe, if he comes out and plays really well, it depends what the groin is going to be though, too, because, if he's got to have surgery on that and what the offseason is going to look like, that could mean, missing time in spring ball too, potentially if,
Yeah.
So we really don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because it's like, can it really be that serious if they're going to start him? But, I mean,
Well,
I
they have
still
no other
think that,
options, honestly. They have no I mean,
well,
Harburg is out.
yeah, yeah.
Sims can't throw and like we really have no other
Well, I mean,
options.
they have no other good. I mean, Jeff Sims is technically an option. He's just not a good
Mm,
option. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I do think that it's
yeah.
possible though, because the thing is like, yeah, I keep seeing these lists, like, like someone said like, oh, the Kansas quarterback is staying, and he was like on my list, and it's like, yeah, these lists are great to make, like Michael Pratt and Daniels and like all these other quarterbacks, but there's a big difference between actually making, like a guy would fit here and actually getting him here. And
Yeah.
and that's, yeah. So I mean, you want to, I guess the overall point is you want, if you can have someone in your own program and you don't have to go to the portal, that's ideal.
Yeah, 100%.
But we'll see. I mean, and it would be nice if we could have like a maybe a Chubba, Daniel Kalen, Heinrich Harbor competition, because I do think, like I said, I do think whoever is the starter next year, I think Heinrich can supplement and add some stuff as a runner, and that's is like, sure, if people are going to know like Heinrich's going to run, but I mean, they had that belly option play, and he has thrown the ball well enough on those. I'm not saying he could be the full-time starter, but I think you could have a little like a Taysom Hill type package for him, like the Saints have, and he could be pretty effective at it. I mean, third and one. Give me 9 offensive linemen. Give me as many offensive bodies as I can put. 10 blockers. Snap that thing to Heinrich Harburg, and I'll take my chances.
100%. And I think, Mitch mentions here about the groin surgery. It's a quick turnaround, so
Okay,
I
well that's
mean,
good.
he could be fine for a potential bowl. I mean, he could definitely be fine for spring ball. And honestly, as much as we've said, oh, we need a transporter quarterback, that's priority number one. If Chubba plays well, I would honestly rather go with a guy who's been in the program, knows the system already, and doesn't have to relearn it. Because Casey did a decent job, all things considered, last year. But for me, I would personally like a guy who's already familiar with the system, and so that way there's not this sort of learning curve that could put us behind, especially with next year's schedule.
Yeah, and here's my thing with Chuba is he was a top, like he was a 4-star recruit.
Yeah,
It's not like, I mean,
yeah,
he's got obviously the bloodlines too. His brother is obviously a quarterback, and I would love actually to see, just a similar to what
yeah.
Brock did. I'd love to see him win this game, beat Iowa, win the bowl game, and bam. And I mean, then it's going to be pretty hard to not say he's the starter going into spring ball if they can win these next 3 games. And because the other thing too is the transfer rule is you have to be careful, because if you come out there and say you get a guy who's like a younger guy, then maybe Danny Kalen's like, well, what's my future like here too? So it's
Yeah,
like every move that you make at the quarterback position, you has to be calculated, and you have to think about all the other possibilities. So if the best possibility could just be these guys sticking through next year, and maybe even Jeff Sims sticks around and just doesn't have any pressure, but just you know, does what he does, and maybe he gets another opportunity like a year from now when he actually gets rid of the yips and he can still play productive football. I don't think that we've seen like the last good football of Jeff Sims' career. He has to get out of his own head, and I just don't think he's going to be able to do that this season.
and you mentioned, getting a young quarterback in the transfer portal, and the delicate situation surrounding the quarterbacks already on the roster. If you bring a younger one in, I mean, we saw it with the process that Matt Rule had in recruiting Kalen, and he said, basically we're gonna go after Dylan Raiola, but if Dylan falls through, we want you, and we want you committed to the program. So there is a sort of balancing act that you need to do, and depending on the transfer portal quarterback, and even if he's a good one, hypothetically speaking. I wouldn't want to lose Danny Kalen for one, you know. So I mean, it is going to be there is that element where it's tough if you bring in a transporter quarterback, which is another reason why I would probably want Chubba to be the starter if he has a good 2 games here.
And yeah, it'd be great just to get to a bowl game and wrap. It would be great to wrap it up tonight. That's really I don't want this Iowa game to be for a
No,
bowl game, and so
no.
yeah, just get it done tonight, wrap it up, and then yeah, then we're playing for a winning season, and just to beat Iowa and get to a better bowl game and all that type of stuff. I think that would be great. So we'll see what happens, man. It's not going to be easy though. Nebraska has never won at Camp Randall Stadium in the Big Ten. So we'll see. Can Sims catch and block? I'm not sure if he can. Blocked up. I don't know. The ball security has not looked great with Jeff Sims. So yeah, but yeah, tight
No.
end. Yeah, I could see that with Harburg too. I mean, that's what I mean. Like I could see him with the Taysom Hill type role. Like he's just a tough dude. Like put him on special teams. Yeah, he could be a blocking tight end. Short yardage back. He could do a lot of different things, I think, with Heinrich Harburg.
And honestly, they
What
tried to use Harburg as a wide receiver in the opener against Minnesota, and we saw that for a little bit. I think he had a catch for 5 yards. So
All right, let's see. Danny K from This Is Co-Subs. Danny K would want to welcome someone good in. Iron sharpens iron. I think Danny will need 3 years to become a Big Ten quarterback. Potentially, it's hard to see me seeing Daniel Kalen sitting for 3, maybe like in his 3rd season, maybe get some playing time, but that's a long time to wait. I don't know. We'll see about that.
well, I think Alex Mansky could also be a very realistic possibility. I know he wants to visit. He said he wanted to visit in December for a potential bowl game practice. So there's Alex Mansky is still very much on the table too. He's a 2025 kid for those who don't know. But I mean, we are looking at quarterbacks for the future, and guys that can come in and potentially play right away. I mean, quite honestly, in a perfect world, you know, Chubba starts next year. Danny Kalen starts in 2025. Kalen starts for a couple of years. By then, Mansky will be here. Then Mansky will take over. So I see there's a quarterback plan. Now how things go according to plan. They almost never do. So, but that sort of changing of the guard for each of the quarterbacks should be really, really nice.
Jimmy asked why not invest in Heinrich during the offseason. The right training on his decision making and throwing accuracy and mindset. The kid is a baller. Yeah,
It's a
I mean,
good
I'm not
question.
saying that. I still think you do try to develop.
Yeah,
Just because you bring
sure.
in other quarterbacks doesn't mean, yeah, if he takes that step, he surely could get that opportunity.
My
I
thing is the
just
throwing motion. Like I don't know how much you can correct a throwing motion in one off season. I mean, I'm sure you can, but will that lead to productive results and will that be consistent enough to, make the big leap that we need to make for Heinrich to be a solid quarterback? We don't know.
So, Josh, don't forget if we win tonight and Iowa loses today, we will be playing for the Big Ten West. Crazy. Yeah, that I kind of forgot about that. I haven't just looked at the. I'm just wanting them to win a game. I don't care about the Big Ten West. I don't care about. I just want them to get
Yeah.
6 wins because Matt Rule just really needs that this year. Like that's just what he. That's just what this program needs. I mean, it's going to be a lot easier for him to recruit, and even if it is just like 6-6, and we are in the quick lane bowl because it's just not only do we get the extra practices, but it's like, hey, I got Nebraska to the first bowl game in 7 years. Just it gives him something tangible, to sell to recruits. It eases off the pressure of him and the players. I mean, how many times have these guys got to get asked about like when are you going to make it to a bowl game? How long has it been
Yeah.
since you made it to a bowl? I mean, but that's got to end. He's got to end it, especially when you win, 5 of your first 8 games. Like it'd be one thing if, I don't think the pressure would be as great, if they, started like 2-5 and, won 3 games in a row. It'd have a different feel. There'd be a lot different feel to it. Right. But they had kind of a high, undefeated October. You can't have a winless November. Just can't do it. Got to win one of these 2 games. And my preference would be both. Start it tonight.
Yeah, I agree, and you wonder how much internal pressure they feel. I mean, it's easy for us to say, "Oh, to show up and win and blah blah blah," but you wonder if the pressure is starting to get to them as well. And they're human. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, but you know, winning that sixth game would undoubtedly be a major relief for everybody, from fans to the players to the coaches.
Yeah, definitely. Mitch, if Heinrich was a baller, we would have seen some semblance of improvement. He hasn't improved, not a little. Simpson, Harburg have no future. And yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I don't, Heinrich, I do think, like I said, I believe he could have a package. They could do some things with him that he could find some success. But yeah, for the most part, I agree with that statement. So, basically coming up on 5 minutes here, guys. So if you got any more questions or comments, make sure you hop in there. Yeah, DeJohn Cooper, Iowa did just lose their top player. So who knows? I don't even know who they're playing tonight, to be honest. Is it Minnesota? I want to say Minnesota. No, they already lost to Minnesota.
I'm gonna look real quick.
But at any rate, like it would be fun to, be fun if they
Illinois.
did lose.
Illinois.
That's right. And then Illinois is trying to get to a bowl game too. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. They've actually been playing pretty good football the last few weeks. It's funny like Northwestern ended up might be a bowl team. Illinois might be a bowl team. These are all teams that we beat. Somebody asked earlier, has Nebraska beaten Iowa and the Badgers in the same year? I want to say yes, but I'm not 100. I'd have to double check. I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like one of the years when we had Rex Burkhead, we did that. When we like won the Big Ten West, and
2012, maybe.
yeah, that would be my guess. Yeah, like
I'm
so.
gonna look this up while you.
I'm not
Now it's
sure though
bugging me.
if but was the Nebraska has not had much success against Wisconsin. I think the last time they won at Camp Randall was like 1966. And it is a tough place to play, especially at night. Like there's no doubt about it. I'd rather be playing this game at 10 a.m. for sure. But that being said, I do think there's a lot of pressure on Wisconsin. So it's
You're right. 1966 was the
yeah.
last time Nebraska won in Madison by a 31-3 margin, and Nebraska has not beat Wisconsin since September 2012. Obviously, the Big Ten championship game of 2012 had the famous Taylor Martinez run, which I posted the other day, and I still to this day I can't believe how fast he really was. You don't really like think about it too much until you just see him take off from those defenders, and so it was just an absolutely crazy blast from the past to see.
Yeah, and I saw one of him against UCLA the other day, so that was pretty sweet. So yeah, to answer your question, Mitch, 2012, because Nebraska beat Iowa that year 13-7. So 2012 was the last time we beat Iowa and Wisconsin in the same season. So it would be great to do it 11 years later, and I would love to start tonight. So yeah, if we win the West, who gets Coach of the Year? I think that Braun should get it no matter
Yeah,
what. I've already
100%.
said that. I don't care. What he's done this year has been spectacular, especially if they get a sixth win. Like I think if he gets them to a bowl game, like it's locked. He's got it. So anyway,
I'm very happy that he got the job because he definitely deserves it.
yeah, and it's crazy. UCLA is going to be open, Texas A&M, Michigan State. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. I know people have been, trying to talk about Matt Rule to Texas A&M or whatever, but I wouldn't worry about that at all.
No,
I don't
I
think
wouldn't
that's
worry about
happening.
that either, because especially after 1 year. I mean, I wouldn't worry about
Yeah.
that. That would be
No,
a good
I
fit
think
for him, but I wouldn't worry about it.
no. If he was like, if this was year 2 or 3 and he already had, if this was like year 2 and he was on the second of like back to back really good seasons, then yeah, I might worry about it. But no, he's not going anywhere. I agree.
Well, quite
But
honestly, we have to be worried of whether Tony White will go somewhere. That's my biggest worry.
yeah, Trev, they got to pony up. They got to, because USC. I would be very concerned about him going to USC. It just seems like a really good fit. I'm pretty sure he's got ties to the Pac-12, San Diego State. I mean, maybe San Diego State, the head coaching job, he could be a candidate there too. But yeah, Nebraska needs to get this guy over the 2 million mark, like right after the Iowa game.
At least have him make more than Marcus Satterfield, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I I honestly, this is just my opinion. I really think they gotta like get close to 2 million if they're gonna keep him. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it just depends though too because I haven't seen the contract. I'd have to look at it because most schools, honestly, they will like to leave for a DC job. Like I'm saying, if like USC there's going to be a buyout. He's not going to get a free walk to USC as the DC. So I mean, that is something to think about. Most contracts have that. If it was like a head, it's not going to be for like head coaching job or whatever, but a lot of teams, and sometimes it'll only be like within your conference. So I honestly don't know, but it wouldn't shock me if there was like a clause in there where he had some sort of buyout, to go to another, because he's only been in Nebraska for like 2 years. So, or 1 year, excuse me.
1 year,
He's
yeah.
still, so it's not like coordinator contracts usually aren't long, but and it's probably not a lot. It's probably like 50 maybe or something like that. Man, maybe nothing at all, but I wouldn't surprise me if there was.
And Rule's done this before, so I wouldn't be surprised if his duties will be changed in the offseason. We do need a specific quarterback coach, and I don't want it to be Satterfield, but as far as
But then but then we would have to drop somebody else though, because you're only allowed so many on-field coaches.
True.
So I mean, I mean, you could if somebody leaves, but however, how they've got it right now, I mean, and you could have somebody that's like a analyst that could be could coach during the week, but in terms of if we're gonna have another on-field quarterback coach, somebody would have to leave the staff. So
Yeah, Mitch just said how about an analyst? I mean, that could be an option. I mean, I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, if you find the right guy, I mean that definitely could work because I mean they can work with you in practice and stuff, and who knows? I mean, pretty soon I think that those rules are going to be going by the wayside anyway because every team has like 40 analysts, so like it's not that. I mean, I wouldn't mind them getting like a specific. Oh yeah, everybody does. I think Florida has like 100 analysts. I mean, it's crazy. But they've got recruiting analysts, and I'm like, what the hell are all these guys really analyzing? But anyway,
just
we're about
something
the
that
time.
they can put under their job title so that they can fly under the radar.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be the game management analysts, and whatever. I'll just ask me when to take timeouts, and because that's the only part. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm smart. I'm smart at that part of the game. I don't think you need to be a like X's and O's guys but I see a lot of game mismanagement. Matt Rule's pretty solid though. I like Matt Rule.
No, and it is mostly the major schools. All the SEC schools, probably Alabama, probably has 500 analysts, but I mean they do have a lot. I remember looking at their staff directory, and there was an analyst for this, analyst for that, analyst for this thing and whatever. So I mean, and analysts could be an option for Nebraska as far as quarterbacks go.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for hopping on the chat. It was really fun. We'll be back for a Monday podcast episode. Hopefully, it will be a victory Monday. We did get a Big Ten championship last night, clinched with the volleyball team. So we're off to a good start. And also remember, we got Nebraska basketball this afternoon against Oregon State. It's a little appetizer for the football game tonight. So again, thanks. Yeah, that will be a good game. So thanks everybody for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.
Sweet, and we're out.
I don't think we are not done yet.
Oh, whoops.
Hold on. I got it.